stand by for a birthday parade unlike any other since the end of the Second World War. Because this year, every single Guards regiment or battalion is serving abroad right now, or has just returned from service, or is preparing to go abroad. And that tells you everything about the scale of Britain's military involvement across the world, especially in Iraq and Afghanistan. So the crowds are gathering, and as we all enjoy the music and the ceremony today, we also remember those men and women risking their lives across the world.
Yes, a warm welcome to Horse Guards Parade in central London for the 55th birthday parade of the Queen's reign. Difficult, of course, to imagine a better venue for it. We've had a few showers this morning, but with a bit of luck, despite the ominous grey clouds, the rain will hold off, not least for the 1,700 troops and over 250 horses taking part today. No spectacle quite like it anywhere else in the world. Now, the main players in today's parade, the men whose colour or flag is being trooped, are making their way, and very shortly they'll be with us here on Horse Guards Parade, and they are number 7 Company Coldstream Guards. They're providing the escort. Magnificent scene on the Mall. They're ready for the Sovereign's procession, and the streetliners, hundreds of guardsmen on the Mall ready for the procession. Another reminder for us of the scale of the Army's commitments this year, because these are the men, the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards, who were meant to be centre stage today, but they are in fact preparing for a tour of Afghanistan, so the honour was passed to the number 7 Company. Lieutenant Colonel George Waters is the man who's missing out on the chance to command the parade today, but his turn may come next year. At the far end of the Mall, they're getting ready for the Queen's departure with the Duke of Edinburgh. Police say there are some 25,000 people lining the route, lots of them, of course, happy in St James's Park, which is just beyond the palace there. And here in Horse Guards, some 8,000 lucky people who won their tickets to sit in the stands. Some of them, of course, guests in the Citadel across the way there, having a good look. And this year, I'm delighted to say, a new departure. We're joined by some of the guardsmen serving in Afghanistan. They're joining us by live link. We'll be talking to them later. It's great to have them with us. And I reckon they're quite pleased to be with us too. We'll be with them in a while. Also with us this year is Matt Baker. He's with some of the younger visitors today.
Well, I am surrounded by over 1,000 screaming cubs, scouts and brownies. I'm just outside of the parade grounds, my first time at Troop and the Colour, so I'm very excited indeed. But the scouts have been coming here for 100 years since they were formed, and let's have a little chat with some of them now. Now, Naomi, you've got a letter here all primed and ready. Tell us, what's the story behind this?
Basically, when I was 7, it was the Queen's Golden Jubilee, and I wrote her a poem. And I sent it
You sent it to her, and she sent you a letter back saying thanks very much indeed?
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Now, Mubarak, what are you going to shout to the Queen on the way past?
Happy birthday from Cubs!
Oh, that's lovely stuff. Well, please join me back down here a little bit later on. This is unbelievable.
We'll be back with Matt. And my companion in the commentary box once again this year is someone who knows all about the precision on display. He was on parade as a guardsman. Some 20 years later, he commanded the parade as field officer. He is, of course, Lieutenant General Gerald Dzerzhinsky. Good to have you with us, Gerald.
Good to be here, Hugh.
And when we look at lots of these very young guardsmen with lots of medals, it tells you about the involvement in different parts of the world.
It does indeed. 25 years ago, there would have been precious few medals on parade, and today, as you saw just now, it was a different picture. Many people only see Her Majesty's Guards on ceremonial duty in London, and understandably, perhaps, they think this is all that they do. The fact is, as you know, as we've just seen by my regiment there in Afghanistan, Guardsmen are operational soldiers first and ceremonial troops second.
Gerald, thank you. And let's have a quick word then about number 7 Company. They've taken their place on the parade ground. They are today's escort. A quick word of explanation: the 2nd Battalion of the Coldstream Guards no longer functions, and number 7 Company in effect represents the traditions of the old 2nd Battalion. Many of the Guardsmen on parade today are just 17 or 18 years old, as Gerald was saying, and they know that today is all about very high standards.
Number 7 Company have provided the escort to the colour once before. Doing it this year is a huge honour. We weren't expecting to, because our 1st Battalion was going to do it, but they are now committed to operations, and we have been given that honour to be leading the parade. Number 7 Company has quite a variety of soldiers on parade, that's to say experience mixed with very young men. Some of them, of course, are only 17 years old.
Some of the boys came back from Iraq last year, were posted to Number 7 Company, and then we've got a small number of guardsmen involved who have just come from Catterick, so they're actually straight in at the deep end.
By the right now, by the right!
This will be the first time I've been on the Queen's birthday parade, and I'm feeling quite nervous about it in case I mess up or anything, because we have so many people watching me. I've never done anything like it before. To wear the bearskin and tunic, the first time you put it on you get a real buzz out of it. It's like, whoa, I've actually done it.
The lessons that we learn on drill are fundamental to the way we run the British Army. Discipline is one of the major factors, and it also helps when you're out on the battlefield. Perfection comes at a cost. It comes at a lot of hard work, a lot of hours spent here rehearsing, so it's not something that you can do overnight.
I've come to be the ensign through going to battalion on a gap year commission and then to Number 7 Company. The ensign's a huge job, collecting the colour from the Sergeant Major of the battalion and taking it and trooping it round in slow time is a huge honour.
Her Majesty the Queen's been watching the parade since the early 50s, and she has a very keen eye on minute detail. The drill that the boys produce has to be of the highest standard to pass that watchful eye.
The Queen's birthday parade for my Coldstream Guardsmen and me demonstrates how professional we are and our attitude to everything that we do. So we have the same approach whether we're on operations, on training, or doing our ceremonial duties.
Left! Hold!
So after all the hard work, the big moment has come for the escort. They're in place, ready for the Queen's arrival. Let's have a look then at all the guards here today on Horse Guards Parade. At the far end, Number 6 Guard, formed up at right angles to the other guard, comprised of men from F Company Scots Guards. And the Scots Guards have a very busy weekend because they're taking part in tomorrow's parade here on Horse Guards to mark the 25th anniversary of the Falklands conflict. Also heavily involved in the Falklands will be the Welsh Guards. There are almost 400 of them on parade today. Guards number 5, 4 and 3 are comprised of men from the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards from Number 3 Company, Number 2 Company and the Prince of Wales Company respectively. Let's have a look at Number 2 Guard. It's comprised of men from Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards. Most of these guardsmen are participating in the parade for the first time. And we caught a glimpse of them earlier, their colleagues in the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards. They're currently serving in Afghanistan, in Helmand province. We paid a visit to the men in Helmand. This is what they told us about today's parade.
The ceremony you see today is based on what we do when we're back in the UK. It's a unique part of what makes us something that we think is very special.
What people have got to remember is, you know, we are infantry soldiers. Public duties is a small part of what we do for Queen and country.
Our role out here is really to mentor the Afghan A&A into taking over from what we'll be doing. Basically, we're training them up to go out on ops, going out on the ops with them, make sure they're doing it right, helping them out with their tactics. They are good fighters, and in camp they're a good laugh. They like to make friends here, and they're good footballers. I'll give them that.
Be the first tour, the best thing is actually coming out here, and the guys who I work with respect you more because you have come out here and worked with them. Also, it's nice to feel like a proper soldier coming out instead of doing it back in the UK, firing blanks and stuff, so it is really good.
It is rewarding to work with the people. When we first came out here, a lot of the villages were quite hostile, and now you drive through them and they're actually quite friendly because they know that we're working for them, and it gives you the satisfaction to know that you've done something good for their lives.
I was involved in the troop in 2004 and was lucky enough also to be the ensign. I believe there's several former ensigns out here at the moment. I think whenever we're in London and we're doing ceremonial duties, we wish we were away. We wish we were in Iraq, we wish we were in Afghanistan. When we come to Iraq and Afghanistan, the first few months, we're glad we're here. As we get to the end, we start to wish we were back in London doing ceremonial duties.
There is no other job where 1 minute you can be out taking part in one of the world's most famous military pageants, and yet 6 months later you can be out here in Afghan fighting for your and other people's freedom.
To the Grenadier Guardsmen who are trooping the colour this year, I would say enjoy today. If there's a chance of getting to a screen, we'll be watching you, and we wish you all the best, and look large and be massive.
Those words of advice being heard loud and clear on Horse Guards Parade. Seems like a good moment to join those Grenadier Guards in Afghanistan in Camp Shorabak in Helmand Province. We're going to talk to Lieutenant Colonel Carew Hatherley of the Grenadier Guards. And a warm welcome to you, Lieutenant Colonel Hatherley. And what do you make of today's events, given that you're all those many thousands of miles away?
Yep, Hugh, Gerald, good afternoon. 2:15 in the afternoon here out in Afghanistan. Salam alaikum.
What do you make of the fact that you took part in this wonderful event 4 years ago, but you're out there today? How do you view things from that distance? I think we've lost contact with Lieutenant Colonel Hatherley, but believe me, we shall try to get back to them as soon as we can. Bit of a shame, but I think we got the drift there, that they are looking forward to a bit of a party as they watch some of their colleagues parading here today. A look at the colour party itself, because this, of course, goes right to the heart of what's going on here today, protecting this colour, which will be collected by the escort and then trooped down the ranks. The colour party is a very, very important element of the preparation here. And an interesting development this year, and Gerald will tell us a little more about this. The colour itself, Gerald, has an addition, which is a wreath. Tell us about that.
A laurel wreath is borne on the colours to celebrate a particular battle honour or an honorary distinction. In this case, it was the performance of the Coldstream Guards at the Battle of Dettingen. I'm never very good on dates. I'm sure you know the date of that, Hugh. It's, as I recall, the last time that the monarch led the troops in battle. 1743, thank you for that. And that's why the colour is bedecked, as it's called, with a laurel wreath today.
I'll look down the Mall towards Buckingham Palace, waiting for the first carriage to be leaving, making their way along to Horse Guards Parade. Prince William and the Duchess of Cornwall and Vice Admiral Timothy Lawrence. Now today, for the first time, we can see Prince William attending the parade in uniform. He's wearing the dress of an officer of the Household Cavalry when not on parade. Prince William currently on an armoured reconnaissance troop leaders course at Bovington Camp in Dorset. And in the second carriage we have the Duke of York with his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Eugenie. The man with a great burden on his shoulders today, the field officer in brigade waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Stanford, commanding officer of the parade, commissioned into the Welsh Guards in 1987. Gerald, interesting that we have the escort from the Coldstream Guards, the field officer from the Welsh Guards. What's going on?
It is unusual, not without precedent. It's happened before, but it's quite a responsibility for Richard. He's the man in charge. 180 odd separate words of command, and he hasn't got a crib sheet to help him remember them. As I recall, he'll no doubt be feeling a mixture of pride at the honour of commanding the parade to celebrate the Sovereign's birthday, but also apprehension of the thought or the prospect of what he's got to do. It'll be an amazing experience for him, which I'm sure he'll enjoy immensely.
So number 3 guard has opened up ready to welcome the first carriage of royal guests. And if we look at the officers of the escort, the captain is Major William Style, subaltern Lieutenant Storm Green, the adjutant Captain Louis White, and the ensign, the all-important ensign who will be trooping the colour, carrying that flag down the ranks, Second Lieutenant Fred Mills. So they're in place too, ready for this Queen's Birthday Parade to begin. In a few moments we'll be in a position to see Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh leaving Buckingham Palace, and as we wait for the Queen to leave the palace, a quick word from Gerald on what it means to be on parade as a guardsman. Gerald, not in your commanding position, but as a guardsman.
Well, even though it was quite a long time ago for me, I can still remember the tingle one felt. Your first concern was not to get it wrong. And whilst you'd had quite a lot of practice, this is the real thing, and so you're quite apprehensive. But this is combined by, really, it's a sort of strength of the bond you feel with the men on either side of you. You've got to work together, you have to rely on each other, and so you feel twice the man because of that link. And of course you're also immensely proud. There you are, representing your regiment in a splendid ceremony that says happy birthday to your sovereign and Colonel-in-Chief. You feel about 9 feet tall.
Life Guards trumpeter, Lance Corporal of Horse Aram Slowey, signalling the Queen's departure from Buckingham Palace. Queen and the Duke driven down the Mall in Queen Victoria's ivory-mounted phaeton, which was first used in 1842, drawn by a pair of matched grey horses. We'll have more to say about the horses a little later on, because we spent some time in the Royal Mews and had a very good chat with the head coachman. The Queen, of course, will be accompanied by the Sovereign's escort, Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment and the mounted bands. The Royal Colonels in the procession too, Prince of Wales for the Welsh Guards, the Duke of Kent for the Scots Guards, and the Princess Royal for the Blues and Royals, the regiment of course chosen by Princes William and Harry. And also in the procession we should mention the non-Royal Colonels, General Sir Michael Rose, whose Coldstream Guards, of course, are playing such a big part today. General the Lord Guthrie of Craigiebank, of the Life Guards, and the Duke of Abercorn, of the Irish Guards, whose men, I have to say, are notable by their absence today, because the 1st Battalion Irish Guards was deployed to Iraq last month for a 6-month tour. And their duties include training the Iraqi army, protecting the British around the Green Zone in Baghdad, and, of course, being on standby for operations further south in and around Basra. And the Irish Guards trooped their colour here very stylishly in 2005, and as we're about to see, out in Iraq, the colour still has pride of place.
On arrival in theatre, and specifically within this camp, we mark our arrival by conducting a small ceremony. Historically, we used to parade the colours on the bottle prior to the bottle commencing. It's a proud moment for me as the Regimental Sergeant Major to bring these colours back, specifically because I was deployed on the initial Iraq tour in 2003.
2003 is a very different kettle of fish from what we experience now. Back then we were fighting the Iraqi army, we were fighting for Basra. Now it's a 180-degree turn because we are training the Iraqi army. We are hoping to develop them so that they can take on the responsibility for the security of Basel themselves. There are many people serving in the battalion in Iraq today whose fathers served previously in the regiment or whose brothers are also serving.
The family I've got out here, I've got 2 brothers and a nephew. The 2 brothers was out here before in 2000.
First 2 carriages on their way to Horse Guards Arch, and they'll be enjoying the parade from a pretty spectacular vantage point, the office once used by the Duke of Wellington, which overlooks the parade ground. Tony Blair, his final birthday parade as Prime Minister, with Cherie Blair and members of their family, including their daughter Catherine, Margaret Beckett, the Foreign Secretary, with her husband Leo, and other members of the government assembled in the VIP stand. For many people, of course, the music is every bit as important as the marching today. It's an indispensable part of the enjoyment. The programme, by the way, is approved by the Queen, and as we've seen over the years, she clearly loves the marches. This year we'll be hearing 3 new pieces of music played by 250 musicians of the massed bands. Only one place big enough for all of these to rehearse together, and that is Chelsea Barracks. We went down there and had a look at all the hard work going on.
I think it's very important that the music reflects the regiment that actually is trooping the colour. As soon as their regimental march is played, their backs, they grow 6 inches. It's fantastic to see. There is, of course, some music that's used traditionally every year for the Queen's Birthday Parade. Les Huguenots was very, very famous, and it goes back to 1869, which is the first time it was used on the troop.
As the senior drum major, it's my responsibility to steer the mass bands around the parade ground. I have quite a prominent role within the spin wheel. I give the signal for the spin wheel at the correct moment.
The spin wheel is probably very unique to the Queen's Birthday Parade. It's very rare that we actually get a mass band of that size that it needs to change direction 90 degrees. But how it actually works, well, I couldn't tell you exactly. I know when certain people have got to turn around at certain particular points.
Nature of the beast, the spin wheel is mystique. And I'm not going to divulge anything with regards to the spin wheel. It is achieved. The mass bands are professional and elegant enough to go into chaos and to come out of it at the other side in an organised form.
See in the centre now, the mass bands doing a very, very difficult operation, I always think, the wheel.
The lone drummer's role within the parade stems back to when drummers would be employed to signal for troops rallying in battle.
Part of our dual role is music on one side and our infantry skills are the machine guns, as we're going to Afghanistan in September as the machine gun platoon.
Well, music is often taken for granted, but this is one parade that if you turn the TV sound off and you watch the Queen's Birthday Parade, you'd certainly notice the difference.
Sovereign's procession on its way along the Mall towards Horse Guards Parade for the birthday parade to begin when the clock strikes 11 o'clock. The procession led by the Brigade Major, Lieutenant Colonel Toby Gray, and 4 troopers of the Life Guards, followed by the mounted band of the Household Cavalry, of course. They're followed by the 1st and 2nd Divisions of the Sovereign's Escort, the Life Guards. They take it in turns with the Blues and Royals, who this year are providing the 3rd and 4th divisions. The Brigade Major leading the way. They prepare to turn onto the approach road just round the corner from the parade ground itself. Along the Mall, the Union flag, the Union Jack if you like, flying on all government buildings from 8 in the morning until sunset for the Queen's official birthday and for the Queen's actual birthday as well, which is on April the 21st. It was Edward VII, by the way, who chose to have an official birthday in June. He, poor man, had a birthday in November, which he complained was not favourable weather-wise, so he went for June as the date of the official birthday, and that's the reason we're still celebrating this parade at this time of year today. And all along the approach road, we have the flags of each of the Commonwealth countries. Some 53 of them, and they're on display in order of joining the Commonwealth, starting, of course, with Britain and then working down the years. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Queen, of course, who celebrated her 81st birthday this year. The Duke, just a few days ago, celebrated his 86th birthday. Gerald, it's interesting at this stage just to note that in his 86th year, well, just in his at the end of his 85th year, the Duke actually undertook a visit to Iraq.
Yeah, as far as we're concerned in the regiment, he really is an amazing man. For 86-year-old, he constantly visits the regiment and is particularly welcome on operations. Last October, as you say, for example, he came to see the battalion deployed in Iraq, in Basra, and the Guardsmen really rate him. Even though, as a former officer of the senior service, the Royal Navy, he has a very good line in gently taking the mickey out of the foot guards. In the nicest possible way, of course.
Of course. Queen and the Duke now turning into the approach road. And the Queen has a new head coachman, and he is Mark Hargreaves, or Jack to all his friends. He insists that for his parents he's Mark, and this is his first birthday parade. We visited Mr. Hargreaves in the Royal Mews a few days ago. He told us he was excited and nervous, which is understandable. He spent 22 years in the army, including 9 years with the King's Troop, and today he's riding St. Anton. The hand horse is Daniel, and Jack says that Daniel is extremely reliable. He trusts him with his life, which is quite a statement to make. Buckingham Palace tells us that the Queen today is wearing a Carl Ludwig silk turquoise spotted dress with an apple green coat and a hat by Philip Somerville. That's for all of you who write in every year asking precisely what the detail is. The Duke of Edinburgh, of course, as Gerald mentioned, Colonel of the Grenadiers. Chelsea pensioners standing to greet Her Majesty on Horse Guards Parade, along with some 8,000 other spectators. There's the coachman, passes the colour. He will salute in that special way with his whip. And followed by the salute of the Royal Colonels. So the Queen's Birthday Parade of 2007 is about to begin. Clock strikes 11. And very soon the Queen will step onto the saluting base, which has been placed in front of the Horse Guards Arch, ready to take the salute later on. The Royal Standard will be released to signal Her Majesty's presence, and then the field officer will give his command and the national anthem will be played. Field officer was waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Stanford, ready to order the royal salute once Her Majesty and the Duke are in place on the saluting dais.
Royal salute! Present!
So Her Majesty's first task is to inspect the line of guardsmen as Lieutenant Colonel Bob Owen, the Senior Director of Music, in his last birthday parade conducts Royal Procession, a piece originally written by Martin Ellaby for Prince Harry's graduation at Sandhurst. Number 6 guard in front of the old Admiralty building. She's wearing, by the way, a special brooch, the insignia of the Coldstream Guards. Gerald, so many young men on parade for the first time today. You've described a little about your first time as a guardsman. Difficult to replicate these circumstances in just 2 rehearsals, isn't it?
Indeed, sir. There's nowhere in London where you can actually practice the whole parade. You can do bits and pieces of it in your home barracks, but there are only 2 Saturdays, last week and the week before, when you can actually get on and do the whole thing.
Music's changed to number 7 company, composed by Major Graham Jones, the Quick March. It's composed at the request of Major William Stiles. We saw him in our film earlier, company commander, number 7 company for this parade. Standard, presented to the Household Cavalry in May 2003 by the Queen. The most recent battle honour is Iraq 2003, which was added to that colour last year. Coachman salutes again. And the Royal Colonels likewise. Away past the Guards Memorial on the edge of St James's Park, reminding us again of the British military presence overseas and the loss of life over the past year. And now passing the King's Troop, celebrating its 60th birthday. Major General Sebastian Roberts, commanding the Household Division, formerly of the Irish Guards. His 2 sons are currently serving in Iraq with the Irish Guards, and they've sent this message to their father.
Orlando and I both out here obviously as brothers, and back in England on the parade is our father. Good luck on the parade. Yeah, don't keel over, and father, try not to fall off that horse. Yeah, good call.
What are the chances, Gerald, of Major General Roberts falling off today?
Not high. I mean, man of many parts, and horseman is not one of them, but in a turbulent time for the armed forces, he's done a great deal for the Household Division. He's done us astoundingly well.
Another person on parade today for the 3rd and final time, Senior Drum Major Dean Colbert, 1st Battalion Scots Guards, the man who leads the bands on the march, and he served in the army for 21 years. He never dreamed that he'd be in this role.
I'll look back on my time as a Senior Drum Major and just remember what an honour it was to be able to lead 250 musicians on the Queen's birthday and be the central focus of that parade for them. And I don't think there's any greater honour that can be bestowed on a 16-year-old lad who joined the army and became a drummer. The job of the Senior Drum Major is quite a high-pressure role, and leading up to the word of command troop on the parade is a great deal of worry and nervousness going on behind the scenes, and kind of shaking on the inside, not showing it on the outside, obviously.
Dean Colbert, who's now waiting to hear the order to troop and to start the hugely popular march Les Huguenots, which many of you tell us is your favourite piece, and if I'm allowed to say it, it's mine too.
March!
for the raised trombone to signal a change of direction.
Mass bands! By the center! Quick, march!
Blue, Red, Blue by Dr. Martin Ellaby as the quick march, composed especially for this birthday parade of 2007, dedicated to the Coldstream Guards. Blue, Red, Blue, of course, representing the colours of the Guards Division. The lone drummer breaks away to take up his position to the right of the escort. Now, the drummer's call, when he sounds it, is the command for the officers of the escort to take post, a signal, if you like, that the parade is moving to the next phase, when the escort marches off to collect the colour before it's trooped down the ranks. The lone drummer is Lance Sergeant Michael Wall, and he says, as a drummer in the Corps of Drums, being the lone drummer is what everyone aims for. And he, by the way, will be deploying to Afghanistan with the battalion in October. Guardsman Lee, an orderly, takes the Regimental Sergeant Major's pace stick, enabling him to draw his sword.
Escort for the colour! In close order! Land! Back!
Lieutenant Storm Green, the subaltern of the escort. The eyes front perfectly timed, with no word of command.
Escort for the colour! Will advance! By the left! Quick! Advance!
Moment for the escort and for number 7 company. They move centre stage. It's a great moment, Gerald.
It is a great moment for them. The focus is upon the escort. People may be surprised to hear the Coldstream Guards escort marching forward to the tune of the British Grenadiers. And this is because in the 17th and 18th centuries, every infantry regiment had a grenadier company as the right-hand company. It was made up of the tallest men who were used as assault troops, and they threw grenades, hence the name. And the British Grenadiers March traditionally refers to the Grenadiers of all infantry regiments. It was only subsequently that it became the Regimental March of the Grenadier Guards.
So the escort marches forward. They'll stop some 20 paces from the colour party, then the music will stop, and the Sergeant Major will move around to collect the colour. Colour, of course, a high point of reverence for all the guardsmen. The sergeant of the escort, Company Sergeant Major Dave Waller, told us all about it.
When I hand the colour over to the Regimental Sergeant Major, you'll see that he takes a firm grip of it. And at the same time, I've still got a firm grip. It actually looks as though we're tussling over the colour. We're not. We're making sure that the colour is held safe and secure until he's ready to receive and I'm ready to pass it over. It goes back years ago when the colour was the rally point during battle and men would die rather than see the colour fall. So at all times we make sure that our colour is 100% secure before it's handed over.
Warrant Officer Class 1 Peter Carr marches from the rear of the escort, and as he passes he will collect the ensign, Second Lieutenant Fred Mills, and they will move towards the colour party, ready to collect the colour.
Escort to the colour! Readers! Out! Escort to the colour! Slow! Arms! Turn!
So the escort for the colour has now become the escort to the colour. The colour party joins the escort itself, ready for the slow march.
Escort to the colour! Turn! Arms! Escort to the colour will advance! By the centre! Slow! March!
Now, as the escort advances in slow time, the bands, of course, have a very tricky problem. We saw a bit of it in one of the films earlier. They're facing the wrong direction. The answer is this, frankly, the mesmerising spin wheel. Now, Gerald has been doing his homework, and after the mystery of the past 4 or 5 years, he's now going to tell us in great technical detail how it's done. Over to you, Gerald.
Hugh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me about the spin wheel. If the senior director of music doesn't understand how it works, then I won't pretend that I have a clue. I reckon it's all done by smoke and mirrors and the magical powers of the Garrison Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Mott, he's responsible for training the musicians to execute it. I don't know how he does it, but he has my undying admiration for the achievement.
Call that a cop-out, Gerald.
Yes, you could say that.
Very soon, the music will stop, and the escort will be ready to troop the colour. Slow march. And a word now then about the young man whose duty it is today to troop the colour, to carry it down the ranks, because the ensign is just 19 years old. He's Fred Mills. It's a very big day for him, of course. We caught up with him during rehearsals.
On the march past of Majesty, I'll be, I suppose, thinking about all the practice that's gone onto the build-up for the day, and keeping the colour and not dropping it is the most important thing. And really, yeah, looking the part's probably the main bit.
Fred Mills, the start of this duty of his to troop the colour today. Gerald, very modest about his role today, but that's slightly misleading, isn't it?
Yes, I think Freddie has been very modest there. He is a bit special. He's on what's called a short service limited commission. This gives him a year in the army before going to university, so that whilst he won't necessarily join the regular army after he graduates, it gives him a taste of what it would be like. Now, one of the rules of this sort of commission is that officers are not allowed to deploy on operations. And because the 1st Battalion of the Coldstream, as we've heard earlier, are training for deployment to Afghanistan, Freddie was given the opportunity to serve with No. 7 Company in London for a while. Now, he turned out to be an exceptional young man, and so most unusually he was chosen to carry the colour today.
Colour being trooped today, by the way, of the number 7 company of Coldstream Guards. There's 113 battle honours, 44 of which are actually borne on the colours in heavy type on small gold banners, and they range from Tangier in 1680 to the Gulf in 1991. And important to stress, Gerald, again, the significance of the colours.
Yes, I mean really it's just a piece of embroidered crimson silk on a pole with a gold line on top, but its significance is immense. I mean right from the start, a young guardsman is taught to revere the colour and treat it with immense respect. It's always guarded. When it's on march on and off parade, it's marked with the preserved arms. It symbolises the commitment of generations of, in this case, Coldstreamers, who fought and died in campaigns stretching back for well over 300 years.
Music stops. The trooping is complete. We now have a series of orders to prepare for the next phase, the march past, as the Queen takes salute.
Take post! Quick forward! Number 1, the 5 guards will retire. At the halt, right, strong, quick, guard. Number 6 guard. Both order. March. Third to the right in 3. 4, 3. Right.
Special manoeuvre, of course, to get guard number 6, which is up at right angles there, into position in readiness for the march past.
And quick time. Further left. Go. March.
They move off. Slow march. This is called a neutral slow march because it's not associated with any particular regiment. It's royal heritage, arranged by Jones. The first time this music will have been heard on Horse Guards for 200 years. It was discovered in the British Library and then arranged by Major Graham Jones. Field Officer in Brigade Waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Stanford, leads the way, followed by the Major of the parade, Major Alex Lewis, who joined the Welsh Guards in 1990. Close look for us at number 2 Guard, Nijmegen Company, Grenadier Guards, notable of course for their height and their bearing. I've got to say that and be polite about them, Gerald.
Yes, you have. And when you look at them slow marching here, it's worth bearing in mind that the surface of Horse Guards is not what it appears from where we are high above the parade ground. It is very uneven and undulating and covered in gravel which accumulates in the hollows. Sometimes it feels like you're marching on Brighton Beach. Marching in line on a wide frontage on a perfectly flat surface is not exactly easy, and so on this surface it's even more difficult, but actually at the moment they're doing pretty well.
Being taken to the front of the Guards, just behind the Field Officer, ready to march past the Queen. officer leads the way. Queen and the Duke are ready to take the salute. In a while, the music will change to the slow march of the Coldstream Guards, Figaro by Mozart. Being lowered by the ensign, the Queen will acknowledge it as it passes. Guard, Nijmegen Company. Grenadier Guard Slow March is Scipio by Handel. Welsh Guard Slow March, Men of Harlech, arranged by Cappy, for number 3, 4 and 5 Guards. Prince of Wales, Colonel of the Welsh Guards, standing alongside his father the Duke. The Scots Guard Slow March, the Garb of Old Gaul, composed by General John Reed. And the adjutant of the parade, Captain Louis White, passes the Queen with the flourish of the sword. So the King's officer rides out to inform Her Majesty that the slow march has been done. So as the guards move around the parade ground ready for the quick march, the neutral slow march this time is Thievish Magpie, arranged by Lieutenant Colonel Dick Ridings. Now earlier on we had an all too brief exchange with Lieutenant Colonel Carew Hatherley with the Grenadier Guards out in Helmand province in Afghanistan, but we're wondering what they've made of the parade so far. Lieutenant Colonel Hatherley, tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's all looking pretty good from where we can see, Hugh. The Coldstream looking okay there, and the Scots and the Welsh looking a little bit better, but obviously we would say this, the Grenadiers looking straightest in line and showing off a bit of panache.
And how does it feel to be someone who's taken part in this parade before, but now you're thousands of miles away? Do you feel an involvement still at this distance?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's quite surreal being out here, but it's great news as well, and it's our link back home, and it's part of the living fabric of the nation that we're part of. It's unique, it's great.
How important is the event for the Grenadiers and the other guards?
Well, it's part of what makes us unique within the infantry. Obviously not necessarily better, though we clearly think so, but it's our link to the household and the monarchy, and it's one of the things we do. But as Gerald said earlier, don't forget we're fighting soldiers first and foremost.
And just in final question, Lieutenant Colonel, just as we look at the parade here and the wonderful sound of the bands, we wish you well, obviously, and we thank you for joining us at this stage. But just a thought, word of advice that we can convey to the men on parade from you there.
Yeah, work hard and it's drills. It doesn't matter if it's drills when you're out here in Afghanistan or drills on the square. It's all the same, and it's good discipline.
We may talk to you later, but we're delighted you joined us. Thank you very much, and send our regards to the men there.
Thanks, you, and thanks, Gerald.
Good to talk to Lieutenant Colonel Carrie Hatherley of the Grenadier Guards and all the men and women who are serving out there. And great to have that link working at last. We're ready now for the quick march. The neutral quick march is the Coldstream Guards March, arranged once again by Jones. As we look at the Guards Memorial, built to commemorate the guardsmen who died in the First World War. 5 regiments represented by 5 bronze figures, each one depicting a real guardsman serving with the Household Division at the time. Chelsea pensioners attending the parade today, 3 of whom have trooped their colour with the Grenadier Guards. Among them, Dougie Huxley, who's 86, joined the Grenadier Guards in May 1937. He completed 8 troopings. The last one was in 1952. We also have Alan Swain, who's 77, Alan Jakes, who's also 77, who was a drum sergeant in 1953, right at the start of the Queen's reign. So it's a very nice link to have them with us today. Prime Minister, Mrs. Blair, and Catherine, who's clearly enjoying the parade, and we've got the Foreign Secretary and Mr. Beckett there too. A good look at the Welsh Guards, marching with verve and energy, and not biased, Gerald, in any way, naturally.
And bearing in mind they've only recently returned from operations in Bosnia, they're doing jolly well.
So we're ready for the march past in quick time. Field officer makes his way. This time, colour is at the rear of the escort. Coldstream Guards quick march is Milanolo. Grenadier Guards quick march, the British Grenadiers, arranged by Cappy. You can hear the cheers from Afghanistan from here. Welsh Guards quick march, the Rising of the Lark. Number 3 Guard, of course, the Prince of Wales Company, the 1st Battalion of Welsh Guards, the senior company of the Welsh Guards, recently returned, as Gerald was saying, from operations in Bosnia. Guards, quick march, Heel and Laddie. Of the 66 officers and guardsmen on parade in F Company, only 14 have taken part in this birthday parade before. The field officer rides out again to inform Her Majesty the quick march is over. We move to another new and very exciting stage of the parade. Field officer has saluted the Queen with 2 movements of the sword. The neutral quick march is the Coldstream Colonel, composed by Lance Corporal James Scott. As the field officer makes his way down towards the Guards Memorial at the other side of the parade ground, I'm just wondering what he makes of it all, because of course it's a new role for him. Gerald was explaining the rather odd hybrid nature of his role today, given that the escort is made up of Coldstream Guards. We caught up with him a few days ago, and this is what he had to say.
I've been in the Welsh Guards for 20 years and have not actually been on Horse Guards parade in uniform before, so it's a new one for me. At the start of this year I'd ridden more camels than I had horses, so clearly the first thing I had to do was learn to ride. I was on operations in Bosnia. We managed to find some stables at Lipizana stallions. They were very well bred but not well behaved, which with hindsight I think was a very good way to start, and I'm rather hoping that Burniston will be better behaved than Drina the stallion that I had in Bosnia.
Lieutenant Colonel Richard Stamford, who so far has had a very good day. Now earlier, my colleague Matt Baker was chatting to some of the younger members of the crowds. There are huge crowds in St James's Park. Just wondering what Matt makes of it all on his first birthday parade. Share your thoughts with us, Matt.
Well, Hugh, it is just absolutely brilliant. I think the overwhelming thing is the noise, and it's not just the sound of the band, but also the marching, the crunching of the boots and the changing of position of the rifles. You can see all of the guardsmen are walking towards us now, and I've got 2 very proud people with me here, 2 of the wives of the guardsmen here. Just turn you around, ladies. We've got Leah and Joanne. So how do you feel today? I mean, it's a wonderful experience, isn't it, Leah?
Proud.
Yeah, you feel
proud.
Okay. And
it's
is it really? And have you spotted your husband yet? Whereabouts is he in the hall?
He's in the 5th row here, so I've spotted him.
Right, and it's pretty good tunic weather today, and I say that because look, there's 12 layers of wool on there, and if that isn't enough, they're quilted as well, which is absolutely extraordinary. But your husbands and all of the guardsmen here have been up from about 6 o'clock this morning. They've been doing a PT session as well, just to make sure that they're all fit and well and ready for the parade, and the boots have been polishing for about 45 minutes or so, so a lot of preparation there. Now then, if you're not really sure of the scale of some of these guards, I don't know if you can see the size of me here, but I'm just going to take a step over now to Captain Josh Hodge, who's here, and he's an extraordinary 8'5". What about that?
And that's what it's all about. Matt there, along with the crowds, which is nice to get some of the voices of those who are very closely linked with the people taking part today. colour is taken to the front of the escort once again.
Good! In! Open order! Left and right! Red! First bonds will move to the right. Right. Turn. By the left. Quick march.
Flag and Empire, composed by Turpin, played by the corps of drums.
As the senior drum majors said in the vignette we saw earlier on, these drummers originally joined as normal guardsmen. They're not trained musicians like the band members. They play the flute, the drum and the bugle, but also they're trained for machine gun or assault pioneer duties. A good lot of men.
Moving on to the parade ground, the mounted bands of the Household Cavalry, led by the Director of Music of the Life Guards, Major Bob Pennington. Drum horses today. You always want to know about the drum horses. Well, the drum horses today are Rodney, who's replaced Constantine, who's currently lame. It's Rodney's first time. Quite inexperienced, obviously, and a bit unpredictable, apparently, on ceremonial events, so hoping for best behaviour. And the much more experienced Sparky, Spartacus, who's on his 9th birthday parade, ridden by Staff Corporal of Horse Stuart Marsh.
See behind me here, the King's Troop are just making their way onto the parade ground, and it's actually the 10th anniversary of the King's Troop involvement in the Queen's birthday parade, and you can see this magnificent sight of bays at the front there, the horses, and they're kind of graded all the way back to the darker horses at the back, which are pulling these enormous guns. Now those horses just to the back there, they're acting as the brake horses, which we'll talk about in just a little while, but there is 56 mounted troops here on 76 horses, and in command of them all is Major Erica Bridge, and she's the first female commanding officer of the King's Troop, and in fact the first female commanding officer to be on parade here at the Queen's birthday, and there she is, a very proud moment for her.
Slow March, composed by the Duchess of Kent back in 1836. Soon, Queen will take salute as the guns pass, the guns representing, of course, the colour of the King's Troop. captain, Captain Mark Edward, will be the last to pass the Queen in this section. Changes to the lifeguard slow. The Sovereign's escort walk past, led by the field officer of the Sovereign's escort, Major David Brooks, who's riding Darcy today, and he's commanded the lifeguard squadron since January this year. Standard lowered by the standard bearer. Principal standard bearer is Warrant Officer Class 2 Squadron Corporal Major Lyndon Heaton. Lifeguards, of course, in their red tunics and white plumes. Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment employs around 235 cavalry black horses, 14 greys, and of course the 3 drum horses. The Blues, the new music, this one arranged by Major Ted Jeans. Commanding Officer Blues and Royals, Lieutenant Will MacArthur. The famous tassels. Tassels there to block the path of any sword aimed at the horse's neck. Blues and Royals, of course, the regiment chosen by Harry and William for their duties. Music changes to the Royals, arranged by Jeans again. For the trumpeter of the lifeguards trots to a corner of the parade ground to sound his trumpet. King's Troop very quickly coming round again, and we'll soon hear the familiar tune of the Keel Row, the regimental trot past. Watch the great sight of the King's Troop, and as we wait for the lifeguards, we should point out that when we talk about the Household Cavalry Regiment, it has 2 squadrons. Nearly half the regiment currently deployed in southern Iraq, and half are due to go to Afghanistan later this year. Passing the saluting base. watched of course by Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke, but also by the Princess Royal, who's their colonel. And the farriers with their glinting axes and their dark blue tunics. The Lifeguards farrier has a black plume. Signal for the director of music to salute and for the kettle drummers to cross their sticks in their form of salute. Quite a feat for the kettle drummers, who are steering the drum horses with the reins by their feet, of course, because their hands are occupied elsewhere with the drums, and it's not an easy task, Joel, is it?
No, it's not. You can make them go forward and turn them, but no brakes. So if one of them decides it's time for tea in Knightsbridge, there's not a lot they can do about it.
So very soon the Director of Music will signal to the field officer that Household Cavalry back in position. He'll turn inwards and deliver the signal in time for the final royal salute of this birthday parade. So the guards dress, and we'll have the famous eyes front with no word of command. The ripple moves its way down the ranks. Again, the very special sound of the fifes and drums, the adjutant composed by Burkitt as the guards reform, ready for the march off towards the Mall.
Guard, what on the escort, form first column, remainder, by the left, quick, forward!
This time the corps drums play Prussian Glory by Gottfried Küchler.
I've got off the interest back. All of it. I've gone back. Good! Go there! Up! There! East!
Garrison Sergeant Major Bill Mott, his 5th birthday parade as Garrison Sergeant Major, the eldest of 3 brothers, all serving in the Welsh Guards. And has received some wonderful news because he's been awarded an OBE this morning in the Queen's birthday honours, and we've passed our congratulations on to him. And of course he's responsible for so many of these big events. Field Officer ready to tell Her Majesty that the parade is almost over.
Your Majesty's Guards are ready to march off back.
Field Officer is given permission to return, where he'll be waiting for the signal from Garrison Sergeant Major Bill Mott that the Mall has been cleared and that they're ready for Her Majesty to make her way back to the palace. The ivory mounted phaeton, Queen Victoria's carriage, is being brought back onto the parade ground, ready for the Queen and the Duke to leave, to go back to Buckingham Palace to take the salute there, and of course to enjoy the traditional fly past, which happens a little later on today. Last minute adjustments as Bill Mott checks the scene, and all of us who deal with Garrison Sergeant Major know that he takes these small details very, very seriously, and he'll have a strong view on how this parade has gone. He signals that the road is clear. Music, the Coldstream Rose, composed by Major Graham Jones. The massed bands, the drums, and all divisions prepare to march off. arrived this morning, around 4 hours ago. I have to say, we weren't expecting a nice sunny parade by this time, but we're grateful for the weather because a burst of rain this morning helped to dampen things down a little. Not too dusty today. We've got time for a quick visit back to Afghanistan and Lieutenant Colonel Carrie Hatherley to thank you all for joining us and just to ask whether you've enjoyed this morning's parade or not.
Hugh, Gerald, we've had a cracking afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you to BBC for laying it all on. And all the guys would like to say one last thing, which is Tasha Kaur, which is Dari, for thank you. Over to them.
Tasha Kaur, we respond in kind, and thank you very much for joining us. And Matt, wondering what Matt makes of it all today as well. Matt, your impressions?
Well, Hugh, what a magnificent tradition, and to have been so close to it and to have experienced it with not only the Guards family, but also the public of all ages, of course. It's been brilliant.
Be good to have you with us, Matt. Thank you very much. And of course, Gerald, it's traditional to say well done, but let's be absolutely frank, has it been a good parade?
Well, the best judge is the person whose official birthday we're celebrating today. But in my humble opinion, the men on parade today were a credit to their regiments. I think their comrades deployed on operations today will be proud of them. The aim was high standards, and that's what they produced. The rain held off, and I enjoyed it all immensely.
Thank you very much. So the Queen and the Duke make their way back along the approach road up towards the Mall. As the bands lead the way, the senior drum major, towards the Mall. They're passing, of course, beyond the trees there, a crowd of at least 20,000 people. Matt spoke to a couple of them earlier, but that's all part of the event today, which is why it's enjoyable for not just those in the stands, but those beyond the stands too. And as the Queen and the Duke make their way back, this birthday parade of 2007 is nearly over. There's one big event still to come. I mentioned it a short while ago. It is the traditional fly past. You'll be able to see that in our highlights programme this evening, and that is at 5 to 6 on BBC Two. And don't forget, we will be back on Horse Guards tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock on BBC One for the National Parade and Service to mark the 25th anniversary of the liberation of the Falklands. There'll be some 9,000 veterans taking part. It does promise to be a very impressive event, so do join us for that. But for now, from Matt Baker and from Lieutenant Colonel Gerald Laginski, from all of us, indeed, in the BBC team at Horse Guards Parade, goodbye.